Deputy Speaker, I understand completely the disinterest that some of the public, most of the public down our way, display when they hear words like political parties, politicians, industrial relations and legislation. I completely get that. Their eyes glaze over, and for most, they'd rather be cleaning their toaster or vacuuming their cat. I get this, but this is a defining moment. This is the biggest, most radical change in IR legislation that we've seen in generations. Deputy Speaker, all Australians, whether you have a job, whether you're looking for a job, all business owners should be tuning in and taking notice, because this bill will affect every single worker, every job, every workplace right across the nation. There is little doubt that if you believe in aspiration, the capacity of the individual in personal choice and in personal responsibility, then this Fair Work legislation amendment, Secure Jobs and Better Pay Bill 2022, isn't the bill for you. And in fact, it is a giant step backwards for our workers and our workplace. Everyone in this place wants Australian workers to have good jobs, safe jobs, well-paid jobs, to get a fair day's pay for a fair day's work, and that's fair enough. To be appropriately remunerated for the skills that they bring to the workplace, and to get a wage, to receive a pay packet that allows them to save and to prosper and to get ahead in life. We want our local businesses, our great local businesses, to be profitable so that they can employ those same people that are trying to get ahead in life. But unfortunately, this legislation won't deliver these noble aspirations that we all agree on, that we all want for the people of our respective electorates. Now, I don't need to tell people across my electorate that things are difficult. Inflation's going up, mortgages are going up, businesses are struggling to get staff, fuel costs are going up, fertiliser prices through the roof, and it all looks like it's going to get worse before it gets better. The cost of doing business is increasing rapidly, but what this bill will do is make the situation worse. The bill will delay much-needed wage rises because of the added layer of complexity to the system. It will undermine competition and force up prices. It will lead to more strikes, more job losses and more industrial unrest. Deputy Speaker, in spite of what you're hearing from those on the other side, governments don't create jobs. It's our enterprising small business sector and our employers who create jobs. Government's role is to place the frameworks and the supports around those small businesses so that they can grow more jobs. Governments should provide the tools and the levers that allow businesses and employers and employees, for that matter, to grow and to prosper, creating more jobs. That's not this bill. This bill will lead to more strikes, more job losses. And it's not me that's saying that. It's the employers and the employer lobby groups right across the nation that have made their point very clear. What the other side needs to do is listen. Now, I come from the great state of Tasmania, and we're, of course, an island state. Everything that comes in and out of that state comes by air or by sea. The electorate of Braddon is home to Tasmania's largest port, the Port of Burnie, importing and exporting approximately 5 million tonnes of containerised and bulk minerals freight in and out of that particular port. Just up the road, again in Braddon, is the Port of Devonport, 3.7 million tonnes. And when you combine the Devonport port with the Burnie port, that provides 94.6% of Tasmania's containerised and bulk mineral freight in and out of the state. And it's there that we see industrial action at its best, or at its worst in this case. It's coming up to Christmas time, Deputy Speaker, and it's about that time that the unions generally flex their muscles, puff their chest out and decide to go slow in Port Melbourne or Port Botany or wherever else that ship was coming from. But what that effectively does, and I've lived through this from the business end, what I've seen from being an agricultural operator in northwest Tasmania, is it absolutely puts a chokehold on the great state of Tasmania. Businesses go broke, cows don't get fed, canola doesn't come in, protein doesn't come in, raw products doesn't come in, they don't come in for our advanced manufacturers, and we don't see those products going out either that meet the Melbourne-Sydney market. So it stifles growth. It cripples businesses and it hurts employees. It hurts the very people that these unions are supposed to be helping. I mean, I went through a go-slow process with the Maritime Union out of Port Melbourne over an air conditioning not working in a forklift. And that went for a week. That went for a week and cost people jobs. It cost farmers money and people were subsequently laid off. But these weren't big operators. This is not big business. This is mum and dad businesses. These are sole traders or partnerships where mum and dad are the operation staff. They do the hiring and firing, they pay the people. But when mum or dad has to deal with red or green tape, or in this case industrial relations, that means that 50% of that business has stopped being effective. That means that 50% of that business has got to take their eyes off the road and deal with this complex legislation that normally big businesses would have a specialised department or an office that would deal with such legislation. And it isn't the case. This is going to hurt the small operators, the small businesses, and that's what this country's built on. Now, coming from small business myself, I understand completely, and I would say that 99.9% of the small businesses out there in Australia care deeply about their employees. They understand, Deputy Speaker, that the most valuable asset for any small business is their staff. And I know from my business I wouldn't have had a business, and it certainly wouldn't have been successful if it wasn't for a good team of people that I had. And I went without myself to make sure that they were paid each fortnight. I had a business which didn't gain revenue during the winter months, so I'd save money during the summer months so that I could keep my people on, so that they could have a job to go to, so that they could look after their families. I, at Christmas time, would kill cattle and give them a whole beast so that they could feed their families. All these things aren't talked about. All these things aren't documented. All these things don't appear on the ABC or on other outlets. But I tell you what, there's a lot of businesses out there doing the absolute right thing by their people, and I think that should be recognised right here tonight. And this bill certainly doesn't do that. It certainly rubs, as far as I'm concerned, salt into the wound of small businesses who are just trying to do the right thing. All they want is a fair go. And we would no sooner hurt our people or take away from our employees than we would hurt our own children. We need to get out of this big city mentality where we have workers that work for 5 levels of bosses and start thinking about the mum and dad's businesses that this is going to hurt.